way too dark.
You have to bring the thing in closer, almost to the stereo.
Probably put it behind a wall, but
wherever he had sitting right by the TV was good. Screw the TV up now.
It's still too dark.
Why don't you put it right down here? Right in front of the Christmas tree here.
Yeah, see, if it bounces off that wall, it's okay. That's good, but that's heavy. You're not going to stand and sit there and hold it. I thought, why is she looking at me and not saying anything? I figured it out. Well, that's good.
You're gonna hold that thing?
Quite heavy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hard in Grandpa's eyes there.
It's not hard on eyes like this, is it?
Can you move the camera closer to him more? Yeah, get in. Like, get him basically from the waist up. I can. And then you get a real clear picture of each. I speak different languages when the cat hits me.
What's that?
Well, I'm controlling myself. Oh, look at him, he's just ready to attack, he's just all sprawled.
Whoops.
Such a big move,
A couple of days, he's just gone. Like, are you
Well,
crazy?
you figure that must be good enough, eh?
Ouch!
It's not working good, Dick.
Those fish hooks are sparkling. Well, you have got your fish hooks on. Like silver in it.
Back attack.
So you camera shy there, Grandpa?
Huh?
You camera shy? Are you camera shy?
No.
Why don't you tell us some stories about when you...
What?
Why don't you tell us about when, back in the old days there, where you lived in Homestead?
Good old days?
The good old days, that's what I'm looking
Yeah,
for.
well.
Have you got the volume close enough to pick that up, Lon?
Yeah, pick it up, don't worry.
Well. What do you want me to tell you?
Well, tell me about your dad
Oh,
and how you took over at Devil's Lake there, where you lived.
yeah, well. Well. Well, my dad came up from Sherbrooke, Quebec, from Montreal, well, in 1856. He came over the year after the CPR come through Calgary, going up to Vancouver. They've been building that road, that railroad there. They want to get from coast to coast. So he was, his wife had died, his first wife had died, and he had two little girls. And then when my half-brother, Gerald Guenette, was born, the mother died. So my grandmother, my dad's mother, she raised this boy. So my dad was telegraph operator down there in Montreal. So they just, the railroad had gone through in 1885, through Banff and on through there to Vancouver. So they asked him, being that his wife had died and that my grandma was raising the boy. He was what you'd call unattached, like, you know. So they asked him to come up to Banff. Well, asked him to come up to Banff, you see. So to look over the station there, but they hadn't built the station in Banff at the time. They didn't know just where they were going to put it. But there was the old Banff Springs Hotel. The old hotel had been built a year or so before. So my dad came up there in October 1886, just a year after the railroad went through. So they used the hotel, part of the hotel as the station, like, you know. So he come up there, and Lord Shaughnessy was the president of the CPR that time in 1886. So they gave my dad a pass in case he wanted to go back, you see, to Montreal. Well, my dad came up there, and he stayed the winter of 86 and 87, and the winter of 87, 88. So then it started about these homesteads there in March 1888. He quit the railroad there, but he had his pass there if he ever wanted to go back, you see, to Montreal or anywhere on the railroad. So he came to Calgary in March 1888. So he met a photographer there. So they wanted to come to Enton. There'd been no snow in Enton or in Calgary that winter. And one guy bought an Indian pony and a harness, and the other fellow bought a buckboard. Well, a buckboard, you see pictures of them. They were between the Democrat and the buggy. Now, I don't know if you probably don't know about them either, but they were short. You see, there was one seat, and it was quite long, and they had some wooden boards at the bottom, and at the side they had a little board about 6 inches high, and a metal railing around, iron railing around. So they put their belongings on there, so they started to walk to Enton in March 1888. So that little Indian pony only weighed about 600-700 pounds. So they started up there in that old Red River Ox cart trail from Winnipeg, you know, and they hauled the stuff out with oxen. They were just a rutted road there. So they walked all the way because the pony, all he could do was to pull that. So they had a piece of canvas, and it was awful dry in the spring. He said the cracks in the ground 2 or 3 inches wide. So they come and they camped everywhere. It was lovely. It was very warm. When they got to Enton, they had mogs and things, and their feet, their footwear was all worn. So I don't remember the name of the photographer. I did know, but anyway, when my dad got into Enton, he went to the land titles office, and he got a map, you know, where the homesteads were. So he went out to Spruce Grove, and he homesteaded there right across from where Spruce Grove is there now, where the elevator used to be, there right across there. So that was the first week in April 1888. So then he bought himself a piece of canvas, and he had his belongings, and he hung them, put it up in the tree, and he stayed under there all summer, just under a big piece of canvas tied to the trees. So then there was a Frenchman that had come up from down east the year before, 1987. Chedion-la-Sarthe, 4 miles east of Spruce Grove on the north side of the road going towards Enton. And he had a big team of oxen. So it was terrible dry. So he got, well, there's very few people around, he got to know this Frenchman that had the team of oxen. He had an old brush breaker. So they went there, and they broke a little bit of land for him with his oxen, and one fellow had to ride on the wooden beam, the other fellow held the handle. So they broke a little bit for him, and then they broke a little bit for my dad. So in later years, when my dad's mother and sisters come up, and brothers, well, La-Sarthe married one of my dad's sisters. So that's what happened there. So then after a while, then he built a shack right there by the highway there. A log shack with a dirt roof on it. So in 1890, his mother, his dad had died when he was down east there, you see. His dad had died young. So they wanted to come up in 1890, the spring of 1890. So the radio didn't come to Enton then. So he knew just about what time they'd come on those trains, you know. So my dad had the team and the wagon, and he went in and he forded the river there. He went down that old trail down to Calgary. So he met him down there, drove all the way to Calgary in those roads. So he brought them back with just with their personal belongings. So they come there, spring of 1890. So my dad's brother Ed, he took the quarter of land just east of him. They crossed the roads, and so Oscar Guenette, he took the quarter where Spruce Grove is. That was all in 1890. Then my grandmother, his mother was a widow, and she took the quarter where the Safeway is in Spruce Grove there. So then Adelaide Guenette, another one, my dad's brother, he took the quarter Catacornered over there. From my grandmother's Catacornered 1 mile west. And so Joe Guenette, he took the quarter where the campground is there, going to Stony Plain there.
Stony Plain.
In 1890.
Spruce Grove.
In Spruce Grove, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad, after a while, you could take a homestead, you could buy another quarter of land there, what you call a scrip or preemption. You'd pay so much an acre for it, and you had about 30 years to pay for it. So my dad eventually had a mile south of Spruce Grove on the Golden Spike Road there now, you see. So they had 7 quarters of land then. They had 5 right in Spruce Grove there. They had the other one, Catacornered from my grandmother's. My dad had the mile down there, 1890. So that's what happened there. So my mother's people, they were named Gagne. They came from Hull, Quebec. So they come in about 1890 also. There was 3 boys and 2 girls. And they lived south of the overhead bridge there, you know. About 4 miles south, the overhead bridge there, east. So finally my dad married my mother was the oldest sister. Philomene and the Rose was the other sister. And then there were the 3 boys. So anyway, they homesteaded there too, you see. So when my dad got married, then he built a shack right off of the highway there, right across Spruce Grove there. A log shack with a dirt roof. And him and Mom got married, and the other sister married old Sam Eccles, Rose. So anyway, that went on there. And my grandmother, his mother, had 18 children. 18 children. And 5 or 6 of them died when they were young, you know. But then he brought up my half-brother, Duff Guenette. You see, my half-brother, see, the first wife, Duff. So my dad, we stayed there, so then he broke a bunch of land there and got some land broke. Had some children there, and quite a few children come there pretty quick. So then, in 1903 or 1902, I was born 1898, you see, 1899, so I was a year ahead of the years. I'll be 86 on the 5th of January coming. And so he went into Denton and he bought 5 or 6 lots just north of Jasper, half a block north of Jasper there. So then he built a barn in October 1902. So in 1903, then he built the house in the Springs and moved up there in 1903 in Denton, just off of Jasper on 106th Street. So sold it to his brother, Oscar. Oscar sold his quarter to Jake Brox and Dan Brox, where Broxton Park is right east. of my Uncle Oscar. Those are CPR quarters there on that side, you see. So Dan Brock's was there before them, you see. So then he sold it to Dan Brock's brother, Jake Brock's. So my Uncle Oscar, he bought my dad's 2 quarters, the south then. So then, a little while after, the Grand Trunk Railroad come along, the Grand Trunk Pacific at that time, started from end, they were going out to the coast. So anyway, my dad had started to build a new house there when we left to go to Enton. It was right by the road, and he had the roof on and everything, and don't think they had the windows on, but we were going to move into it. So then the railroad come across, and they bought all that land from the highway, you know, so wide. So then Uncle Oscar, he moved down to the other quarter. He built himself a small house there. See, he was a bachelor. He never got married. He died young. He was only 34 years old when he died. He's buried in Spruce Grove there, Catholic cemetery there. So anyway, my dad moved into Denton. I guess about October 1903 we moved in Denton. And my dad and a Frenchman named Picard, they started the Enton Music Store right down Jasper. That was 1903. Right, you're going east on Jasper, just where the Jasper Avenue begins to turn there. A flat roof building is 1 story. We have the pictures at home then. It showed my dad and his partner and a couple of other Frenchmen. They wore them big hats in there, some like cowboy hats, but they were flatter, you know. They all wore them at that time, so we got the picture of them then. And they wore those vests then, you know, and they had the watch in one pocket watch, and the fob on the other side. So then they started the music store, so my dad, he got the agency of the Singer sewing machine, you know. So he had a big district. But anyway, when he moved in Denton, my half-brother Duff, he moved into town. My dad built a barn there on the lane there, between 106th and 105th Street. And they brought in 2 good milk cows from the farm. And my brother Duff, he had a lovely big team of sore horses. My brother Duff, he hauled coal like they used to in Onaway here years ago, from the Dawson mine or anywhere, and he kept going all winter. But my dad, he got himself a team of drivers, and he'd come out everywhere. He went 100 miles each way from Enton, you know, winter and summer. In the winter time, he'd take the Democrat box off, put them on little bobsleighs off of the wagon gear. In the spring, he'd put it back on the Democrat. So then he'd come out here and he'd sell this sewing machines. He'd put 4 sewing machines in the back. He'd take the back seat off the Democrat, and he built himself a little box around there that he could take off, you know, and had an end gate on when he wanted to put the other seat on. But he'd put 4 sewing machines on there. What he did, he had room for four sewing machines from the back seat to the front seat, and he every time he got a new Democrat, he'd get a piece of steel, you know, put underneath there, and they'd bolt it up through the floor of the Democrat. And you see, then he'd put these sewing machines in there, and then he had some little board, 1.5 inches or so, and he'd put them through above the treadle, you know. He'd put it through one over here, you know, where the steel goes up with the Singer sewing machine. And he put them there, and he had a thing that crank, like, you know, and the long screw in there, you know. And he'd just tighten that up to them sewing machines. They were just solid in there.
Bounce nowhere.
He'd put 4 in there. He sold an awful lot of them out around Onaway there. And they were, I don't know what they cost them days, but old Granny Taylor here, where old Cecil Anderson lives on Highway 43 there. Old Grandma Taylor, she had a family, and when any one of the girls got married, you know, she'd pay a payment down for him, you know. She bought an awful lot for my dad, but he'd go everywhere. He'd go to Athabasca Landing, he'd go down towards Red Deer, he'd go east to Vermilion, way down in there, that side of Vegreville, and he'd go south and he'd go west. And that's how you were on the place at Devil's
Yeah.
Lake there, you see. 1905, he was out then, he got to know these people along the road here. So that there was no railroad, but he thought there was talk of a railroad coming through. So he bought that land at the lake there in 1905. He also bought the quarter west up here, a mile west, you know, that big hill there, you know, belongs to Walter Schultz now. So he bought that from John Felix Callaghan, the homesteader there. Old log house there went upstairs. So we moved out on we left them the 1st of April, 1906, 78 years ago, last spring. And we got out here, Mum and I, Dad and I, and well, we come on the 1st of April and there was no snow left. Nice warm day. And there were 6 kids then. And Mum and Dad and I, 6 of us. And we got to Villeneuve that first night. So there was a stopping place there, Belgian people. So the next night we got to old George Noises down there, Callahoo there, you know. Stayed there that night. So we all slept on the floor there. And Mom and Dad, I guess they had a room for them because they knew the noise and my dad come out there before, you know, and he used to all stop. So I remember very well, us kids there. So in the morning we were all sleeping and old George Noyes, he got up, you know, and the door in the old log house faced the road, you know, the trail there. And so there was a deer out there, and he stood right in there, opened the door, and boy, he shot there. I don't remember, got it or not. But oh boy, the echo inside the house, us kids, we all jumped about like that, you know. So anyway, my dad and I, we come up the next day. And they had sent these milk cows out, my uncles, you see, they hauled stuff up to George Noises, you know. Wasn't too bad then, the roads. So they left a lot of stuff in there, and the milk cows, they brought the milk cows out. And we had a fellow named Denny Campo from this side of Fort Saskatchewan, Lamora. So he worked for us in there, and so he stayed with us for quite a few years. So he was out at the old log house, and the cows were out there. My uncles had hauled them out. And so there was, I don't know, there was no cook stove or anything. In the spring it was nice, you know, on the 2nd of April or some of that. So we come there anyway that night, and he had some milk these cows. They had them great big tin pans and really had a skimmer, and those cows are good milkers. So anyway that night, he slept in the old log house. So he took, my dad and I went up to see old man Munson, and up there where Walter Schultz there lives, but it was on the other side of the road there, you know. Up on the hill there, from Amber's Graves. So, old grandfather Munson, he lived up there. Floyd's grandfather. So a little trail through the bush from there and up through there and over the hills up there, up them ravines, and then slept there overnight. So the next day we come down to where Amber's Gray and old Mr. Gray and Mrs. Gray and the old people, you know. So then, come there, so we went back down to Callahoo then. That was on the 3rd by then. So the girls were down there, you see, and the cook stove was down there. But anyway, we went down there, my dad and I, with the Democrat, and of course the 2 seats were on. So we had dinner down at Noises, George Noises, so we started up there. There was no road going to the lake then, you know, from Frog Creek Bridge. They used to come down there where the road comes down and go back into the lake, you see. But anyway, we come out there, you know, by the spring. You've been up by the spring there, you know, above the spring. You know them great, there used to be corduroy there. Damned as mud holes, and right in between there, you know, above the spring, you know. Corduroy. And the heavy big poplars there. And the eveners had all the bark off the trees there, you know. And that's the way they went over there. So we got up in there, and Alice Noyes, you know, Mrs. McNamara, she was the only girl. Well, she come up with us. So there was 7 of us. No, 6 kids, 7, 9 of us come up in that Democrat that afternoon. So anyway, it was only the 3rd of April. And it gets pretty cool the 3rd of April, but there was no snow anywhere. So then they brought us there when Clara, my sister, was just a baby. So they went back to get the cook stove down at George Noise's. So by that time it's fairly late, you know. So, golly, you know, it got there and they, down there between Vipins and where the old schoolhouse was, that swamp run right across there used to be an awful mud hole there. Some guy used to come there on horseback and the horse would lay down there, you know, the horse, they'd have to get off. So anyway, it got pretty cool at night. Clara was just a baby. So this John Felix Callagher, he sharpened a bunch of tamarack posts. He had the post all the way in the front of on the road there. And there's a pile of tamarack chips there, up there away from the old house. So it got cool. Us kids, we'd run up that side hill. You know, he broke some land up there, not too much. We'd run down there. It was a lot of fun for us, you know. So it got cool. So my golly, you know, the mother had Clara in the blanket, and so, you know, stove in the house. So, gosh, I hope they come pretty soon. So, Alice Noyes, well, she used to camping, you know. She's the same age as my sister Louise, which is 4 years older than I was. She said, "Have you got any matches?" she said. So they went in there and found some matches. So she got some newspaper, some of that, and she knew how to start a fire, you know, Alice Noyes, you see. So, sure as no time we had a doggone fire going, you know, and there was tamarack chips there, you know, they sharpened a bunch of posts. They were quite dry. So, boy, it was dark by the time they came with that doggone cook stove. And nothing to eat, you know. So anyway, they had some stuff there, so they set up the stove that night, but anyway, I don't remember if they lit it, but upstairs there were about 3 or 4 bedrooms upstairs in that old log house. Little narrow steps about like that, you know. So anyway, we got up there, so the next morning we had some breakfast. So then, this Denny Campo, he stayed with us quite a long time then. So then, my dad decided to start a store. So they went down to Noyes Cross. There used to be a mill when we come out. There was a mill on the south side of the old bridge at Noyes there, between the road and the river. And they used to saw there and put the sawdust on top of the ice, you know, in the wintertime. So they went down there, tried to build a store, and have a store. That's what he come out here for anyway. Went down there, got a load of rough lumber, and so they built a shed roof affair there. I don't know how big it was. Shed roof affair. Tar paper around one thing or another, and put rubberoid on the roof. So then they started a store there. So, and for the hardware and stuff, he built a tent with a frame on, you know, put a frame about 4 feet high, and he kept the nail and stuff in there. But that spring, old Charles Lenware's brother, you know, well, Tom Smith used to live there. That was old Charles Lenware's homestead. So, that spring there, when Dad come out, about in February sometime, old Charles Lenware's brother, Victor Lenware, started a little store with Tom Smith, just a little bit of a little store there, a little bit of tobacco and stuff. His brother started there. So my dad come out, well, he bought that. It was just a couple of $100, I guess, he paid for that, so. But then my dad started a store there, hauling fermenting. There was no road, as I say, down by the spring there. So, anyway, they started right away to build the big house at Devil's Lake there, you know. So, a mile down there, so anyway, they got going. I guess everybody around the country. You going for a drive? Yeah, we'll see you then. So, anyway, they started to build that big house. Well, old man Vaughan, Fred Vaughan's dad, you know, had that quarter down there just by the tracks when you go down to Bilby there, you know, down to Paso Door Beach on that side. And Fred, he was over on the east quarter, you know. So he had a great big team of oxen, old Mr. Vaughan, Fred's dad. and great big oxen, just like Ayrshire. So what they did first, they dug a cellar underneath the store part, you know. And I'd go down, it'd take me no time to run down there to beat the dickens, you know, a mile. There's nothing for me. I'd run down to the lake. And they had this big team of oxen, and they finally dug a slope, you know. And they dug it by hand first, and then they drive in there with these oxen with a slip, you know. Dig it in there, and some of them dig it out. The old man Vaughan and Fred, he was working there too. And so then they dug that, just a big hole in there, so then they started building. Started building right away, that big house there. So I guess old George Noyd and Vader and Fred Vaughan and everybody around the country was. Anyway, they started to build, so they never moved in till 3 weeks before Christmas, 1906. That was 75 years before when they opened up the corral at Devil's Lake then. 75 years that year. So us kids were in the convent, St. Albert. We went there from 1st of September 1906 to the end of June 1907. And Tommy Norris and his brother Malcolm was older. They were boarders there, you see, in there. And they were there, and I remember we played down there in the recreation room down there, you know. We'd play these games, you know, all join hands, go around. And Tommy, you're younger than I was a little bit. His brother was about my age, Malcolm. So a little fat hand, I remember, you know. And I was 1906, I was only 7 years old. So he was about 5 then, or something like that. I remember playing these games, a little fat hand then, you know. So anyway, they were there, and so then, well, then they built that big house, so we came back at Christmas then. Christmas 1906. And they just moved in 3 weeks before that in the store. When we left, we were in the old log house. Come back there. But in the winter time, they had a long, you know, below where they built the old road, you know, from the lake up to the creek then, you know. They went through the willows then in the winter time, you see. There was a trail through the willows then. So anyway, so we were there for a couple of weeks holidays, so we started to go back beginning of January. And you know, 1906 and 7, if you read the history of those books there, it was terribly cold that winter. Gee, it was cold as the dickens. So anyway, when it was time, and there was a lot of snow and it was cold, a lot of cattle died that winter also. So we started back for the convent in January. So there were my 3 sisters and I, and they were in the back seat, and my dad was in the front, and they had something wrapped around their feet to keep their feet warm. Well, we went down through around there by them willows, and we got up. I don't know where we got somewhere. The roads were drifted. So the first thing we know, the doggone thing tipped over. It landed on our head there down in the snow. By the time we got the thing, you know, righted up, my dad said, we'll never make St. Albert tonight, so we went back home. So us kids, we thought that's all right. We'll have another day's holiday. So the next morning, oh, I'll tell you, it was terribly cold. Next morning, we started out. Pretty good time. So we got to Villeneuve, and the roads are drifted, and the horses would lay down, you know. It was so damn drifted and on Villeneuve there. So we stopped somewhere for dinner anyway. And then we got to Villeneuve, and we thought we'd make it to St. Albert, to see, to the convent. So the horse were played out. So we went down there. Out there, and the horse were just played out. They just lay down there. So Dad, he knew old Joe Gray, you know. That is Eileen Perrow's mother's, her grandfather's mother, you know. Nancy was her mother. Nancy Gray, that is a sister, a brother to old Mr. Gray, Ambrose's dad here. Old Joe Gray, well, we knew him, Dad knew them. So it was dark anyway, and it was cold as the dickens. So the horse, they just played out, so we drove in there that night. And I know they fed us and one thing and another, so we stayed there overnight. So the next day we got up, and it was about 11 o'clock time we got to St. Albert convent. Took us 3 days to get back then. But I tell you, it was cold in them days. It was real cold.
Yeah.
So we went to school there till the end of June 1907. So then I come back home. My sisters, they went to the convent in Enton on 10th Street. The black nuns there, you know, on 10th Street near St. Joachim's Church there. So then I stayed home 1907 till 1st September 1908, and I went up at the mission, Lakes and Dandies. The priests were there, so I went to school there, and the old log school a mile this way there. John McConnell, he was proving a homestead there, so I went to school there for 2 years. And then 1910, well then, September 1910, I went to seminary then. I was there for 3 years till the end of June 1913. That's all the schooling I had. 4 years in St. Albert and 2 years in 2 years in Lakes and Dan, 1 year at the Con, 1906, and 3 years in St. Albert. I started kindergarten then, you see, on 10th Street. But I had 6 years of school. No, 7 years. No, 1 and 2 up here, 3 and 3 down there. 6 years of school. It was always away from home, you see. I went to school, to the log school for 2 years. I boarded the mission. And Tom Stevenson, that's Bill's older brother, he went to school, and Bill, Dorothy's dad, he started school in 1910, in April there, 1910. So we learned to talk Cree there. There was only 5 of us could talk English. But they could all understand English, you know, all them plants and gladius and everything from Alberta Beach, you know, where old Abram plant was there, where Alberta Beach is. We used to stop there, and their kids come to school there.
Can you say something in Cree? Can you say something in Cree?
Huh?
Can you say something in
Sure,
Cree?
Tantikadatan.
Or what's that?
Tantikadatan.
What's that?
Where you going? Always hollered old Henry LaRock and then. I don't know. Monando. They always shake their shoulders.
Oh, yeah.
And Miwasin Kissikaw is a good day. Namoya Miwasin Kissikaw, not a very nice day like today. And Kissin is cold, you see. And all those things, you know. And I know quite a lot of Cree, but I know a lot of it yet. You knew all that, you know. Astam Nistaw, that's come and eat, friend. Nistaw. Mitsu is to eat. Astam Mitsu, come in here, Nistaw, my friend. Come in and eat here, you see. And
you took another language, didn't you?
Huh?
You know another language, don't you? Besides
Well-
French?
well, sure I know French.
I said besides French.
Huh?
Latin? Didn't you know some Latin?
Well, when I went to seminary in St. Albert, I took French and English and Latin. So I had my grade 8 then, and that is now like 12 now, you see. And I was right up at the top there, and I finished my grade 8 in English and French and Latin. And you know, my language is French, you see. But French is harder for me to learn than English or Latin. You know, there's so many verbs in the French, you know, and all different tense and everything like that. Well, Latin, I took to Latin just like anything. I took Latin just a year and a half before I left, and I was right at the top there. So then, they told me there, see, that's where you go to learn to be a priest, you see. The seminary, you see. And every once in a while, they'd bring us guys in there, you know, and ask us, well, do you intend to be a priest? You're going to be a pater ecclesia, that's studied to be a priest. Ecclesia, that's all Latin. Or pater familias, you see, a father of a family. See? Well, they said if you're not going to be a priest, you're wasting your time here, because when you go to learn to be a priest, it's an ecclesiastical course. And you don't need so much that you would in commercial life, you know what I mean? So then, 1913, I was 14 then, you see. So in June, that is the last schooling I had. So then I come home, and then they started the Jesuit College where the Campbell Hospital is in Enton now. They started the Jesuit College there, you see, the priests then. So the Eccles, my cousin, then they went there, but Dad says to me, he said, you want to go to college? Oh, I said, I don't know. I said, so he says, well, I said, I want to stay home and go for a farm. He wanted me to go in there and learn to be a mechanic in 1913, you know. But oh hell, I said, I'll farm, so I stayed farming. So that's where we stayed. So then my dad, I was going to tell you, when my dad come up in 1896 from Montreal, George Shaughnessy, president of the CPR, he gave him a pass, you know, railroad pass. So if you ever want to come back, you know, you get tired, want to come back down here, you got a pass then. That pass, you can go all over the States and everything. But you know, I don't know, he went down to the States, to Florida. He'd bought some lots there, and each lot, you know, they'd give you a few acres of land out there somewhere. It went with the lot, you see. So he had some lots in Florida, West Palm Beach, Lakeworth then. So he went down there the spring of 1919 in January. And we were going to go down there, but he built a garage and he rented it. And then there was a cyclone come there and wiped everything right out, just like that. So then, that was all done. So we stayed up here. And so we, well, I was going to tell you about this pass. So then that pass was, 52 or 53 years old. And he was down there, he went from Florida then, Corinne and Clara, you see, they were all from Florida, you see. Corinne got married there and Clara did, down there, you see. So they moved up to Washington, D.C., you see. John, Corinne's husband, he worked in a newspaper there, so he put an application in there, and at Washington, D.C., he worked for the government there, you see. He was a linotype setter. So he got the job there, and he stayed 6 months there, see, and then he had a permanent job while Corinne and Bob and Jack and Bob Cernko and Sylvia, they come up there. So a while after, Clara, she come up. He was a painter and decorator, Clara's first husband, and he also a barber. So they moved up a while after, so he got working in there, you know, out there. So anyway, my dad left there from Florida, and he come up there to Washington, D.C. And I don't know how he kept that path, that old son of a gun, you know. But when he was down there, you know, he had a little shack in Florida there, and just on one side was the ocean in Florida, you see, and West Palm Beach, and then the Lakeworth. One of them was salt water, and Lakeworth, Florida, there was a saltwater lake, and there's in between there, you know. And he, when he come back, went over there to see the girls, and then he wanted to come up in here, and what was it now? 37. My mother died the 3rd of November 1931. She's buried in Enton. My dad is buried up there at Vancouver. So anyway, I don't know where he kept that pass, that old son of a gun, all that time. The shack burnt, he must have got his suitcases out. But then, that pass there, well, when he was down in the States, the pass was 52 or 53 years since he quit the railroad, like, you know, 1888. So he wrote to them in you know, in Montreal there to the, or Ottawa. He had that pass, the number of it, you see, issued in 1886. Well, they told him, said, being you've been off the railroad for so long, we can't, he was over in the States, and it's not too far from where the girls lived, to Montreal. So, if you can get to Canada, we can't give you a pass, the States, you know, otherwise they go everywhere, you know. So, but you go anywhere in Canada. So he got over to Montreal, wherever it is, and he went and got his pass there, but they didn't give him any time he wanted to go anywhere. He'd write for a pass and he'd go all over the place, you know. So I said, I don't know where he kept that pass. So anyway, my sister Helen had it in there when he went up there. You see, he died up there. And he had his belongings and things. So I don't know who she gave it somewhere out there. I'd have liked to have that pass, because I was the oldest of the boys, but it doesn't matter anyway. So that's what happened. So then, well, we farmed over here, so I went back down there, and so, well, I decided I was working there trying to get things going in 1925. Paul had hurt his hip. He was going to school in that first brick school in Onaway there, you know. Paul and Adrian, we lived at the lake, but they went to school there. You know, they were going to Spelderhurst first in the old school, you know, where we lived in. So they thought, well, we were in Onaway District too. So they went to Onaway, you see. And they used to go down and play in the basement of that school, that first brick school in Onaway, built in 1921. So they were going down there to play, you know. It was cold in the fall. They were going down there, and there was a cement pillar down there where the stairs went down, you see. So Reggie Armstead, they were all trying to get down, so Reggie gave him a push, and he went over there, he fell, and he hit his hip, the hip there, you know, on the corner there. Well, he got something wrong with his hip, you see, so in Enton they said we can't do anything, so he had to go to Kirksville, Missouri to my sister Corrine went down with him. So they were down there and then from there, well, it was closer to where my dad was in Florida, so they went down there, and Corrine went down there, and she worked in there for a millionaire. They're looking after the house. And my dad was living there, so Paul stayed there all summer. So he come back later on in the fall, but said he was in the water pretty all the time there. So Corrine got married then, Bob's dad.
What the
So
hell?
Corrine, she stayed there and she got married down there to John Cerncott.
How would that old boy get in?
Huh?
Your dad living way out here in the goddamn sticks. Where would he get the information about moving to Florida? Like what, you know, like.
My dad was a great man to read.
Yeah.
You know, he's a great man to read. He had books from the States, and he had all kinds of books. And he read, and you know, he never went to school. He was 13 or 14, he was the oldest. Never went to school, he educated himself, you know. And when he was 19 years old, the first World's Fair in Philadelphia, he was only 19 then. And he went to the priest from Montreal there to be his secretary. And lasted 8 or 9 months. And he got in to see all that. He was just a young man then. And then, well, he read an awful lot, and he could talk about anything. And he kept in politics just like I do now. He knew everything. And you know, when Enton was a province in 1905, first September, it was just south of Jasper, overlooking the river. I got pictures of it. They had a big canopy over there when Sir Wilfrid Laurier come in there. And I'm damn sure my dad was there, you know. And, you know. And those guys there from the railroad, that Cornelius Van Horn, he was the guy that built that railroad, you know. That CPR, you know. guy from the States, but he built it for the Canadian government. And my dad knew old Donald Smith, and he knew this Van Horn and all these guys. And when they joined up there somewhere in BC there, when they started from BC coming there, when they joined the CPR Railroad in 1885, there's Donald Smith. He drove the Golden Spike there to connect the two. He was a little short Scotchman. And you know, Donald Smith, he got to be Lord Strathcona. My dad knew him well, and there's Van Horn. And that's what they called Strathcona. The entrance was Strathcona on the south side then. Yeah. Named after Lord, he was named Lord Strathcona after that, you see. But my dad knew all those guys. And when old Father Lacombe was on there, and when they come there, down there by Lethbridge and over that prairie, well, old Chief Sitting Bull there, you know, on that prairie, it shows you in there, I've got books showing there. They just go on that prairie, and they just laid the ties. It's all done by hand, you know. And the rails, but as they made it, they'd bring the steel and the ties, and they'd have 2 or 3 teams of little ponies there, leveling it off there, and lay the stuff down there. Well, the Indians, they come there, and they're going through there, and they weren't going to have that come through there. So anyway, they were right there, and they were there, and they wouldn't stop them. So they sent for Father Lacombe. And he come there and talked to those guys, you know, in their language. Come there and talk to those guys. They never had no more trouble. And when they got that railroad going there, Father Lacombe, he was the president of the CPR and them high mucky mucks in the car there, you know. He was president of CPR for a day there. You know, and I got all those books in that. So he did a lot for them, you know. Different times he quelled those Stonies, even the 4th Ensign, they were going to come in there and take that. They got old Father Lacombe there, and he went across the river, and those guys, he had his crucifix. And they went in there and they shot him, and they killed him all in the crucifix there, you know. And otherwise, and so that's what the Hudson Bay, they owed a lot to Father Lacombe, you know. So that's why, so my dad, you see, couldn't hear, and he knew, you know, he's a great guy to talk, you know. Adrian's a lot like him, you know, and say hello to everybody. He knew everybody, you know. So, and then we got into that business, you know, out here and everything, so he decided, when he was selling sewing machines out here, and you know, he used to sell banjos and violins and them little old phonographs, you know, the round cylinder phonograph there with the horn on. He sold a lot of them. Well, if you wanted a big horn, a lot more volume, and they had a stand for them, you see. And the rubber thing fit on there, and then they little round cylinder phone record, you see. But then he sold beads, and he sold guitar, violins, and strings. And he sold silk and beads for the Indians, you know. I still got some of that silk there, you know, at home there, that we had in the store there that they used to peddle to the Indians in 1905 and 6 and 1904. But he kept, you know, get the same, you know. And I still got some, I've got no beads left, but all kinds of silk. You can't buy that silk anymore today. But they used to make all that beadwork. I got some at home then. So anyway, that's what he did. Yeah, all those people there, that some of them never kept any records. So they couldn't put them in the book because there was nothing. Just hearsay. You know, those people that come up there in 1815, something like that, and later on there, well, you know, the way what they went through is just what they were told, like, you know. They never kept any records. It would have been so nice to have them, you know, the record. But it's just hearsay, you know, it's handed down. But it was never written. Said it was a damn shame. Didn't write that. Yeah.
That looks a little better.
Yeah, that's good. You know, that's good, that is. That's good, then. That's good. Well,
You go to the bathroom and then I'll have you come sit over
yeah, I
there.
think your dad's in there right now.
Okay.
That's the bathroom there where you see the lights,
Yep,
isn't it?
yep,
Huh?
yep.
Yeah, well, I've no hurry.
Oh.
Did you and man go up to Laclanan?